A long, long, long time ago, a Navajo girl named Nanabah lived with her grandmother in a hogan in the shadow of a high mesa. Grandmother told Nanabah stories about the animals and the plants of the mountains and deserts. Grandmother told her, "The animals are your friends. They can help you." And grandmother also told her stories about monsters and a giant named Yeitso. Grandmother told her, "When you're walking in the hills, pay attention to what's happening around you. If one of those giants catches you, he'll make you live with him and do all his work." Well, one day, grandmother sent Nanabah out to gather firewood for their cooking. Nanabah knew that all the good dry wood close to the hogan had already been gathered, so she walked away up into the hills. She started noticing prairie dogs standing beside their holes and lizards running from one bush to another with their tails curled up behind them. She almost forgot about the work she had to do. But then she remembered she was supposed to gather firewood. She picked up a good armful of sticks and she turned to go home. And then she noticed a shadow moving across the sun and beginning to cover her. She thought, "Oh, a cloud is covering up the sun." But there weren't any clouds in the sky that day, so she turned around to look. It wasn't a cloud. It was a giant. It was Yeitso. She turned and started to run, but in 2 or 3 steps he caught up to her. He grabbed her and said, "Ho, ho, ho, ho! Now I have someone to do all my work." He put Nanabah, firewood and all, in the basket he had on his back and walked away with her. As she bounced along inside the basket, Nanabah began to wonder if she was ever going to see her grandmother again. She tried to think of a way to escape, but she knew she couldn't run away. He could easily catch her. The giant walked until he came to the top of a mesa, and then he sat down and he dumped Nanabah and her firewood out of the basket. He said to her, "That's not enough wood. I like big fires to cook my supper with. Go gather me some more wood." Nanabah was afraid, but she didn't show it. She held her chin up high and refused to look at the giant. He told her, "Hurry up! Gather me firewood. If you don't, I'll have you for my supper." She didn't think he would really eat her, but she didn't think she'd better wait around to find out. And besides, maybe when she was gathering the wood, she could think of a plan to escape. Nanabah was a brave girl, but she couldn't help but sob to herself as she walked along looking for firewood. And then she heard a friendly voice. It said, "Granddaughter, why are you crying?" She knew it couldn't be her own grandmother who was speaking to her, but maybe there was another friendly old person around. She looked around and she saw a horned toad under a bush. She greeted him politely. She said, "Hello, grandfather." He said, "That's good. Pick me up. Hold me over your heart." So she picked up the horned toad and held him over her heart and then set him back down. He said, "That's very good, but tell me, why are you crying?" She told him, "A giant has caught me. He's making me do all his work." The horned toad laughed. He said, "I'm not afraid of Yeitso. He's afraid of me, and I can help you. Take the hat from my head and put it on your head." Nanabah reached down and took the thorny little hat from the horned toad's head. She said, "Grandfather, I can't put this on my head. Look, it only fits on my thumb." He said, "Put it on. It will fit you. It will give you some of my power." So she put the hat on her head, and it fit perfectly. He told her, "Now you will be able to call down lightning bolts just like I can. Go back and call out to that giant." So Nanabah walked back, and she saw the giant was leaning against a tree, resting with his eyes closed. She called out to him. She said, "Yeitso, look this way." He didn't open his eyes. He just said, "Hurry up, bring me firewood." But she called out to him again, "Look this way, Yeitso." He told her, "Hurry, hurry, I need that firewood." She called out again, and she called out a fourth time. And when she did that, he jumped to his feet. He said, "I said I would eat you for my supper. Now I think I will." But when he saw the hat on her head, his eyes grew wide and he started trembling. He said, "Don't come close to me." Nanabah thought, "I'd like to see a lightning bolt strike the ground in front of that giant's feet." A bolt of lightning shattered the rocks in front of his feet. He jumped back, and she started walking toward him. She said, "Yeah, it's so. Don't you want to eat me?" And she thought, "I wish lightning bolts would pop all around that giant." The ground began to sparkle with lightning bolts, and the giant began to run backwards, faster and faster away from her. He came to the edge of the mesa, and he disappeared over the edge. And then Nanabah returned. She took the hat from her head and handed it back to Grandfather Horned Toad. He put it on his head, he tucked his gray hair up under the hat, and he scurried away. But then Nanabah looked around her, and she realized she didn't know how to get back to her grandmother's hogan. But then she saw an ant hill. She went over and knelt beside the ant hill. She said, "Please, ants, help me. Can you show me the way back to my grandmother's hogan?" The ants all lined up in a single line as they ran to and from their ant hill. And she followed the line of ants. Far away, she could see smoke curling up from the roof of her grandmother's hogan. She set out and made the long walk back home. And when she arrived home, she told her grandmother what had happened. And now, Navajo grandmothers and grandfathers often tell this story to the children. And they tell the children, Animals are your friends. They can help you. Ants can help you find your way home if you're lost in the mountains. Grandfather Horntoad can protect you from danger. You must never, ever kill a horned toad. When you see one, greet it politely. Call it grandfather. Pick it up and hold it over your heart. You never know. Someday it might save you.